Greetings. I'm Michael T. Bell, Senior Serving Shepherd here at Peace Baptist, commonly referred to as the Benning Road Corridor. And I'm sure you've heard of the escalating violence in our community. Tonight, we've gathered together as people of the community, federal government agencies, local government representatives, and our aim is to come together, collaborate, think through, and develop strategies designed administering to the needs of people in the community. The very issues that we face and confront, we do believe by keeping peace as a community in our hearts and the people of our community in our hearts, together we can make a difference.
Commander Fitzgerald, one of the things I think at the top of the list is, especially here on the Benning Road Corridor, right, we've had 5 murders within the past few months. Yeah. And so we'd like to understand from MPD's perspective, as well as representative from the mayor's office, if you can kind of just give us an overview of where your efforts are focused now and what it is that you all are doing in order to reduce the violence.
Certainly. Obviously, Benning Road is very volatile, and I'll lay it all out, what started it, what's continued it. It's a group of young men that grew up together as friends, primarily residing in Benning Courts, the Pinnacles, and AZ Bates. Whatever reason, they have a falling out, so it's almost like a civil war where they're fighting each other. And they're trying to kill each other. I shouldn't say fighting, we use the word killing. And they're throwing shell casings around here like crazy. So what we've been trying to do from a more just a Band-Aid approach, we have to put marked police cars in each of those locations with the lights on, because if we even have an officer on foot and he's not seeing, they're gonna run in there and they're gonna shoot up that courtyard. And the biggest fear we've had scenes where there has been nobody shot, but there's 70 shell casings on the ground. And I've seen the videotapes, they're horrifying. And that is a big step, so we're just trying to prevent those shootings now.
We also have CSP, Community Stabilization Protocol. So CSP is Community Stabilization Protocol. Every homicide, every family that's impacted by a homicide here in the District of Columbia comes through that one's office. Depending on the date, time that the situation happened, weekend or weekday, there's a call that takes place 24, 48 hours with 12 different government agencies, housing, DC public schools. We all talk about who touched the family, what's needed, how we can connect them to loss and bereavement. Do we have to relocate the family? We do a lot of that. We do a lot of hotel stays. We do a lot of working with the hospitals and picking up individuals from the hospitals to keep them safe. And as you all know, that you who's familiar with this work, this is about relationships and it's about a certain vibe of care. Because if the community, this population, this small population that feels marginalized, voiceless, and hopeless, if they feel like you're just coming to get your paycheck, then you're not going to be able to engage this population.
I do restorative justice work, so I facilitate conferences with youth who cause harm in the community, and they sit down with the person who they harmed and they talk about the issues. They get to the source of the problem, and the idea is that they will resolve it and that behavior won't be repeated. So this is a process that helps young people build empathy and helps people who are harmed begin to understand why some of the young people make the choices that they make. I think about 80% of the young people I've come in contact with have incarcerated parents, formerly incarcerated parents, or formerly incarcerated older siblings, uncles, and grandparents. So what I'm saying is the generational impact of mass incarceration. And I think it's very interesting how the majority of the cases that we see involve girls.
When I wake up, my duty is to basically stop gun violence in the Trinidad neighborhood. So when I get dressed, my mind is on stop gun violence in the neighborhood. But before I get into that, I like to get a background about myself. I once was a very, very problem in the Trinidad neighborhood. I caused a lot of problem, and Captain Moore can add to that. I caused a lot of problem in Trinidad, and I also went away for 10 years, and when I came home, I had all the, the youths, and everybody looked up to me to the wrong that I did. So when I joined Not Cure the Streets, if I could change my life, I knew I could change lives too, and they could look up to me for the good that I do. Okay, as a violent interrupters, we work with very high tense individuals. and it's my job to basically get the guns down and stop the shootings. When we started this, not Curtis Street, Trinidad was an uproar. It was shootings and homicides and everything. So what we did was we targeted the high-risk areas of the streets in Trinidad, and we went and locked them down. And you know, we put our life on the line, and I put my life on the line and told them the guns going up. Y'all stopping the beefing, y'all stopping the shootings, it's going up.
And I'm sure that there are questions among you. We have some persons who will help you get to the mic so that everyone can hear you.
Because I want to let you know that me, I'm out here working in my community. I know the police out here, but guess what? I just need the police help. Dale, I just need your help. Because guess what? I'm on the beat. This is my community. So I know what community need. I know what we need. And I know we need job, we need training, and we need mental health. This is what we need right here in this community.
How were you able to get the beefing resolved, and how was you able to get them to trust you?
I grew up in Trinidad, so I know a lot of guys from this area and all over Northeast, but being incarcerated was one of them. By seeing a lot of the older guys from this neighborhood, we was locked up together, so when I came home, for me reaching out to them guys, for the young guys, it wasn't a problem. And for my neighborhood, like I'm very well respected in the Trinidad neighborhood. So if I tell them put them guns down, they gonna put the guns down. And it was hard, but it was easy too to bring the two neighborhoods together, and we mediated the situation, and we got it resolved.
My biggest understanding is these young guys on the street, they're working, they selling drugs, they trying to make a living for their families.
What can we do to get these folks who have been incarcerated jobs?
You know, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, keep talking about pathways, but that is one of the ways to get individuals employed. And so we work with community partners, we work with government agencies, and I'm on the phone a lot begging and pleading for opportunities for our Pathways participants. And so when our next cohort come up, we're definitely gonna look at this community. I need your help to identify the individuals that should be in Pathways. And there's a criteria. Of criminal background, unemployed, unsuccessful completion of probation, or a victim of violence.
That question, I heard a lot about the barriers that individuals face, right, because of their history. Well, we know that a criminal record is a yoke around your neck. And what we've really focused on is trying to reduce those consequences that come with records to create successful reentry. So has anybody heard of the Youth Act, the YRA? So there was a series of articles in the Post about it a year and a half ago. It's a law that we have in the district. It's about as old as I am. If you're up to the age of 25 now, you can get your record sealed if you do everything you're supposed to do, if you mind your probation officer, if you make progress. After you come home, you can get your record set aside. That is incredibly impactful.
We need help. That's all I'm asking, please. Something has to be done. The program you said you got, what you did for Trinidad, or you find out how to do it here on Benning Road, please. Yes. Please. These are my tenants that I could get to come out with me from Benning Court. The whole complex should be over here. But you know, some people just think it's, like you said, normal. It's not normal for me.
My question is interdepartmental logistics. When I was growing up here in DC, people worked in silos. And I'd like to know, how do you all, because I can definitely see you coming to help us over at McKinley Tech, between the beefs between the young people of McKinley and Dunbar. But I'd like to talk more about the interdepartmental relationship. Your services impacts the police. The police impacts what's going on legislatively.
I used to work over at the mayor's office of returning citizens affairs as a workforce development specialist. So I always help people get jobs. A part of what we've been doing and our major focus is we know that a lot of people aren't ready for jobs, so we've been focused on resources. So we done been to all of these agencies, and we actually put a resource packet together. And for the high-risk clients that we have on our caseloads, we delivered, hand-delivered, and a lot of this stuff is always by the hand because we know we can't just send them and expect for them to go. So we hand deliver the package and help them go through the package and find out what resources, job training, mental health services, substance abuse, all of these services they need, and help get them the services they need so they can be successful. So it's a work in progress. You know, the thing is, once we ask them to take the gun out of their hand, we got to put something in it.
I've seen, at least in my neighborhood, where people have been very focused on MPD. And what I want people to know, as my neighbors on either side of Benning Road, is that we have more resources than just the police to address some of these longstanding issues. And we have to be aware of what those resources are and collaborative about working together. So I just want to say very much so publicly, and please hold me accountable for what I am saying here, is that we're going to work together across Benning Road to address a problem that we all know that we've seen for years and years.
When we expand, that's what we do. We go off data from the neighborhoods that got the most trouble, the gun violence and the homicides. So hopefully, when we expand, we come down here. And if we come down here, you will see a difference. I promise you.
So, okay, so I would definitely like to say there's no silver bullet. And I want to be extremely careful with claiming any premature wins. I think the office is extremely blessed, and we have resources and people who really care about the community, from the community. And so in order to change, when we talk about paradigms or we talk about norms, it takes everybody. It's not just the one's office. It's not just law enforcement. It's the affected patient. And so the community, there has to be a buy-in from the community. Government can't do it alone. And through that partnership and that multi-pronged approach, that's what brings about the peace.
Because when you witness a person being shot 27 times, and the bullets are coming into your door, and you have to clean up the blood of somebody that died, and you have to wait till Tuesday because the Horning brothers didn't clean it up. It happened on Saturday, and these families and their children had to witness that, and they're still in trauma. And just because they're low income, they have a right to live right, because they are human too.
My family's been involved in this work for a very, very, very long time. And those two things, one, you know, being able to have the expectation that when you come through this programming, the subsidized job won't end on you. And two, helping the various individuals who want to help you or want to volunteer to do the work, get the training, get the information.
And I think one of the strengths of the model is that this table needs to be with all of the critical partners. You know, even organizations, after they draw the neighborhood, because that's the other thing, let me just say why it's a great opportunity. We're not talking about that big of a universe. No. You know, we can really identify the families. You know, we might come up, and I just say a high number, we might come up with 300 families. And certainly in a city that we live in, which is a $15 billion corporation, you know, that we should be able to, and we have the resources, they're all around for us to really do that. So I would like to just recommend that the next step that we really need to follow this up, because you can get people to come out on one thing, but that we get a good working group that will follow.
You're absolutely right. They all connect the dots for us in the community. So it's just a matter of the community knowing who each one of these people are, the offices that they represent, and what it is that they do. But in the long run, they all connect the dots.
You know, this is a true community issue.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work unless we all come together to fix it. And without our collaboration, that's not going to happen. The NEAR Act is what got Cure Violence model up and running, as well as the Office on Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And quite frankly, it's not enough people doing that work. Right. You know, and we need to support them, and it's going to take the community. You know, your voices will have more Cure models and more Office on Neighborhood Safety engagements. You know, it's enough violence in this city for us to have 4 different Office on Neighborhood Safety and engagements across the city.
My question is about the group that's not actually handling the guns, but that are negatively affected by it, the age group from 5 to 10. If there are programs out there for the children, they are witnessing these things, they're traumatized by it. If you talk to them, you could be teaching a class, and they'll just say, excuse me, my brother was killed today. So I just want to know if there are programs out there for that age group, and if there's like a one-stop shop, like if we go on dc.gov or whatever, and we can find, there's a link where we can find different things and how we can help those children or that particular group.
Someone was asking about programs to address the children. I'll tell you about a couple of things that we're thinking about doing. We would really like to work with the churches in the area. I am actually, along with Monica Vini, we're co-chairs of our Clergy Ambassador Program. And what we're doing right now is really looking into ways in which we can facilitate conversations between, members of the clergy and the young people to see if we can figure out ways to deal with some of the trauma that they're experiencing by going through our more traditional, more homegrown organizations, in our churches.
If you saw all of us that came together as a result of that call, is a testament to Pastor Bell and this church and what it means to our community. So he can make that call for all of us to come together to look into a particular issue and problem to see what we can do to form a solution.
I have been a victim of violence because my 7-year-old nephew was shot and killed during a drive-by shooting in 1997. And I know how that impacted our family, so I know how other families, not exactly how they feel, but how they could feel, some things that could be going on. And so there are a lot of ministries that we could do as a church and as individuals to reach out to the community.
During the civil rights movement, we had one-man movements where we all looked to somebody, and I think we've progressed so far that all of us can have a part in the change that happens. So we just need to figure out how we can do it, and we can collaborate with each other in order to do so.
Because I didn't experience death until later on in my life, but to see younger children experience death at such an early age is just a strong passion of mine to make sure that we have these outlets for our children to know how to understand, how to cope if they don't have those supportive systems in place.
There's a lot of people who are involved, a lot more than I thought, and it's really, was a positive experience. There was an individual who I had interactions with as an officer years ago, maybe up to 20 years ago, and he's turned his life around and he's back here helping the community.
Don't want to claim any premature success. We have a lot of work to do, and it's only going to happen if the community come together and we stop working in silos.
We noticed that there had been a recent spate of violence in the community, resulting in at least 6 murders within the past few months. And the reality is that we cannot say that we're children of God and say that we're Christian and be in a community that is hurting and that is in pain, that is experiencing some of the societal ills and injustices without doing something about it.
Thank you so very much for sharing your time with us, and we will continue to pray for you. If you've been impacted by violence and Peace can respond, please do not hesitate. Area code 202-399-3450 or 3451. And let us demonstrate that loving the community is a God-honoring thing, and together we seek the peace of our city.